Okay, I think everything's up and running. Let me make sure everything is good. We're recording. We're recording. Okay, yeah, we're recording. Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and of course, everything will be updated to the iTunes podcast directory. All right, with that being said, Happy New Year, everybody. Um, Welcome to the first podcast of 2019. Um, Welcome to the Unconquered World podcast, where the premise is positivity, the source is love, and the outcome is peace. Hopefully, peace, whatever that means to you. Today, we're talking about selfishness versus selflessness, and there's a stigma that comes with both of these. Selflessness being a a good stigma, meaning that you're willing to help others, which is not a bad thing. It's a good thing to be selfless, and selfishness is given more of a bad rap than excuse me, a bad rap than a good rap in some instances. But I'm here to tell you that you need a little bit of both. So um just to be on common ground, let's define what the two are, because we all have a slightly different way. We all have a slightly different way of uh interpreting these two concepts. So selfish is considering your wishes more than others, and selfless is considering others' wishes more than your own, just for the sake of this podcast. Um, so let's get into positivity. Balance is key. I think you should aim to be selfless at times in your life, especially when you're in a position where you have an abundance of things. Because you never know what people may need. It's always good to help people out. And if they're struggling, you might get them to the other side of whatever they're struggling. But you have to have some of both. And the crazy part about it is that people like to make you feel bad for being selfish at times. And more times than not, whenever somebody's mad about what they deem as selfish that you may be doing, it's because whatever you're doing isn't benefiting them anymore, isn't benefiting them, going forward. And I don't think that you have to promote somebody else's agenda for them to support you, but a lot of people would deem you as selfish if you're not, promoting whatever they have going, instead of just saying, "Hey, I hope you do well in whatever you're doing." It seems like it would be good for you. So you get a lot of a backlash for being quote unquote selfish if you're not, promoting someone else's agenda, or benefiting them in a way because you're choosing to do something else. Now, of course, everything is circumstantial, a lot more circumstantial than that last statement I just made. But the underlying root of all selfish versus selfless situation lies this problem more often than not, that somebody is upset about you not benefiting them. And it comes from a lot of people being unwilling to consider another person's point of view. You don't have to care or consider um what someone is doing, or think that what they're doing is correct or not correct, to see their point of view or where they're coming from, or even their thought process behind whatever the situation is. You just have to be willing to listen. And that in itself is an unselfish act, in my opinion, because what it allows is for both people to see the chance, to see the point of view of that person and come together and learn from that. So now I've listened to you, I see where you're coming from. And then if I get in a situation later down the road where I'm going through something similar, now I can say, oh, this is how that person handled it and it worked out for them, or this is how that person handled it and it worked out for them. And now you've gone from calling someone selfish, which you could have done, to listening, receiving the information, and now putting it to use later on in your life. So them sharing what they did, or doing what they did, has helped you indirectly, and you never saw it coming. So don't deem everything that someone does as selfish as bad, because you may learn from it. And the circumstances that come down the road for you could be changed dramatically by what you learn from another person. Um, what else? So as far as love, let's move on, because love is the source. Understand that selfishness and selflessness both can be, out of love. Um, I'm starting to understand this a little bit more. And remember, love is a lot of things, but most of all, it's energy. And usually, that energy is uninfluenced. There's no ulterior motive behind it when you spread love. Meaning, I'm giving this love or this energy because I got an abundance, like I said before. And I figured out that there are ways to create, give off, and obtain more of this energy. And I think that you should be a little selfish with it, because if you're lacking it, someone can throw negative energy your way. You'll still accept it, but you won't know it's negative energy, or you will know it's negative energy, and then you have to get rid of that. And now you've done something that's malicious, which is the bad type of selfishness. Whenever the selfishness comes from a malicious place, it's a bad type of selfishness. So now someone's giving you that negative energy, and you've thrown it back out into the world in a malicious way. And that's the type of selfish that you don't want to be. If you're being selfish in terms of what you have going, and trying to promote your life in a way that's beneficial to you, and it's not malicious towards anybody else, you don't have any bad intent, then that's the good kind. And then you can learn to be a little bit more selfless as you get more established, and also be selfless while you're not established. I don't have too much behind me right now in terms of this podcasting thing, or anything else I'm doing. But what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to give off the energy. I'm trying to give off a selfless vibe in terms of advice. If somebody wants to hit me after the podcast, or wants advice with anything going on in their life, they feel like I can help them, or they feel like the podcast helped them. That's what this is for. It's a selfless act in itself that I feel is needed. I feel like it's not a lot of selflessness out of here. Out here, there's a lot of selfishness, but it's a lot of malicious selfishness. And I want to be able to promote the selflessness in the community in the best way that I know how, or best way that I can. Um, so protect that energy, man. Understand that love is an energy, and that energy goes into being selfless and selfish. And if you don't protect it, then understand that you can't give off what you don't have. So if you don't have that energy, how you gonna give it off, right? So there's a point where you have to be selfish. You have to be selfish with that energy, because if you don't have it to give off in the right moments or the right time, then you'll miss out on opportunities, because your enthusiasm wasn't there. You didn't have the energy that you needed because you didn't protect it way back. Um, and now to give you a little bit of peace with it, I'll leave you with this: the key to balancing both selfish and selflessness is really depending on your intent behind the things you do. Like I said, there's malicious selfishness, and then there's non-malicious selfishness. You need to assess yourself and figure out, why you feel the need to do whatever it is that you're doing, and then you handle that. Try your best to eradicate those type of things, so that you're not being the bad type of selfish. You're being the good type of selfless, and that you can promote more selflessness in the future, both with how you treat people, and the people you come in contact with, and your enthusiasm as you go forward in different relationships and everything. And also understand that you got to understand how to protect yourself. You have to understand that, all right, if I don't get up in the morning, and I don't read the Bible, I don't meditate, um I don't read a joke or watch something funny, then you have to understand the type of energy that you bring into that day. So it's starting to understand and notice those differences that happen each day as you move forward. And then from there, you'll get a better grasp on being selfish and selfless, and protecting that energy. And then from there, you'll be able to maneuver throughout life, not feeling bad if somebody calls you selfish, knowing that they may be just mad that you're not benefiting them in a way they feel that you should or could. I think that if you have the right type of energy, then a lot of people won't be as upset for you making a decision for yourself, or a decision to better yourself. I think that a lot of times it's hard to be mad at a person for that, when they've done nothing but the right thing, and try to make the best of whatever situation they've been put in. And then they get hit with a better situation, and they take it, and then you're upset. How does that make you look? You feel me? So you know, people try to say it's black and white when it comes to those type of situations, and you can look at it that way, or you can look at it circumstantial and say, hey, this is the circumstances, these are the circumstances, this is what this person gave, in terms of time, energy, effort, money, and then from there you can assess that and decide how you want to feel. But regardless of how you feel, if someone is making the best decision for themselves, or deciding to give in spite of whatever their situation is, I think both should be welcome, as long as it's not malicious. So that's my 2 cents on that for for the first podcast of the year. I'm gonna try to give you guys two a month. I know I fell behind a little bit after we're going towards the end of the year, just with the holiday and everything that was going on. But you know, I realized also that I gave about 15 in a matter of 5 months, and at first I was popping them out every week. So I think I'm gonna be a little bit more scaled back in terms of how often they come out, with only giving two a month. But I'm gonna be a little bit more prepared in terms of the topics, in terms of trying to get some interviews, because I want to get some interviews on the podcast. I want somebody to, if you promoting a business that you got going online, in person. I do fitness training, so, and here in the Memphis area. So if you promoting any type of business or side hustle or anything, and you want to talk about what you got going and how it's positive and how you can help people with it, um I'm welcome to people being on the podcast for that. It's all about elevation, man. So uh get at me if you want to be interviewed, or if you just have a topic you want to talk about that you feel is interesting. This podcast is for people that, it's based on things that people often struggle with, because I have a struggle with, being called selfish. So this one kind of hit home for me. I don't like to be called selfish, but that's more so because I always feel like when someone's trying to call me selfish, they feel like I have a malicious intent. And most of the time, if someone's calling me selfish, I've probably already thought about them before I did what I did, in terms of, the action that I performed. And it probably had them in mind, and what I felt like was best in terms of what I could do. So being calling me selfish used to bother me, but it doesn't bother me as much anymore, because now I understand that, as long as there's no maliciousness in my heart, and I wasn't trying to do anything towards anybody in a malicious way, I feel like I can deal with being called selfish, because most of the time I'm trying to be selfless anyway. But like I said, it's about a balance. So, I love y'all for tuning in. I appreciate it. That's it for this podcast. Shoot me some ideas if you want to hear about a specific topic or anything. My day went a little bit different than I expected it to today. So sorry if I'm a little rusty. It's been a minute since I've been on the mic anyway. But 2019 gonna be a good year. So, you know, y'all, I'm out.